Patrick has said, where he just takes shape. Thought find out at every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. He's a novelist as well as entrepreneur and making a living with words. One of his advocacy, and other than Mr. Kern Carter.
Hello, hello, hello. Happy to be here.
Hello once again, Mr. Kern. Let's do a back to back. And today, let's talk about all your books, the writing process of all your books. And then there was us, boys and girls, screaming beauty scars and thoughts of a fractured soul. So tell us, what are your writing process of all these books?
My writing process always starts with emotion. I start with what emotion do I want my character to overcome? And once I get the emotion, then I'm able to start plotting. I'm able to start um, jotting down notes and thoughts of scenes that come into my head, of characters that pop into my mind as I'm going about my day. And I'm taking time, like usually a couple months, to just like think through what I feel like the book is going to be like and be about, and I'll jot down notes. And once I get through that kind of thought process, then then I start writing and I feel comfortable writing, and it's a grind from there. It's really a matter of um a lot of refinement, a lot of figuring out who the real characters are, a lot of deleting and adding again and deleting and adding again. Like it's a real writing is a process that tests you, it tests your patience, which I needed to really get better at, is just like really slow myself down and think through each scene and think through each storyline and really start figuring out ways to expand on storylines and expand the characters and make sure that each character feels full. It's a challenge. Writing is something that is very, very complicated and complex in many ways, as simple as it is. And everyone, or a lot of people, most people, I would say, like, can write. They understand writing in a very straightforward way. But for authors, like, we have to understand words at a whole different level, and we have to be able to communicate at a whole different level. And that is not a simple task. That task comes with a lot of effort and a lot of frustration, and um even sometimes when it feels easy.
Mr. Kern, these four titles read like stages of a journey.
Mm.
How intentional was this sequence, or what does it reveal about the path of trauma to healing?
Yeah, no, that is, you're absolutely right. So I was very intentional about the way I organize these books and like the way they're coming out, because they are all reflective of where I was either mentally at one point in my life, or where um where I was physically, like, you know what I'm saying, like the environment, like
Mm-hmm.
if in a novel like Beauty Scars, which is my second self-published book,
Mm-hmm.
like that was the environment I was living in. I was thinking about, um I was observing, like that was just like me living in downtown Toronto and seeing things and the beauty of the city, but also the ugliness of the city. So I was able to write a book about that, about just the both sides of the city, and call it Beauty Scars. And then my first novel was just like, it's your first novel, so you're writing about your entire life, essentially, like you had a life worth of experience. And I was able to kind of distill that down into this fictional novella, based on, again, like an emotion, based on that emotion of feeling extremely, extremely stagnated, of feeling stuck, feeling like you're trying to move but you can't, and feeling like the world is against you, when really who knows if that's the truth. So yeah, like my books always reflect some kind of condition that I'm in, or experience that I'm having, or um, environmental component that is kind of weighing on me, and I need to express it. So yeah, that's me. That's how I write.
Mm-hmm. What is the central or unifying theme that binds the screaming child, the scared individual, or fractured soul, and the emergence of an us?
You know, if I had to identify a central theme in all my novels, it's actually wealth. There's
Hmm.
there's an aspect of wealth in all my novels. From Thoughts of a Fractured Soul, the girlfriend who the main character meets is wealthy. In Beauty Scars, the boyfriend in that story is wealthy, and that Boys and Girls Screaming, everybody's wealthy. And then there was us. There's also aspects of wealth in there as well. I'm just always I've always been curious by having this like seemingly um very very benign situation, a very just like calm situation, and then you insert wealth into that situation, and what happens to it, like you have an adoption. That's in Boys and Girls Screaming, you have an adoption. So the young a 5-year-old gets adopted into another family, which is a fairly normal occurrence. It's not something in our culture now that is abnormal. But now you throw wealth on top of that, where the family who adopts the young girl is wealthy. That adds a whole different layer to the story now. So I always thought about that. I've been fascinated by the way that wealth, just by its presence, like it doesn't even have to influence, like, yeah, it doesn't even have to move, just by its presence is actually having an impact. And that impact sometimes feels is out of wealth's control, almost like it's just, like you there's no way around it. You just have to deal with it, especially when the wealth is so pervasive and so almost obnoxious. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Like you have no
Yes.
choice but to deal with it. So for me, that's a through line to all my books: wealth, and then what's on the other side of that. But I don't I I never compare. It's not like wealth and poverty in my novels. It's always like wealth. How does wealth exist in these worlds, as part of these worlds, not as in opposition to it? So I'm always exploring it from the inside, not necessarily from the outside world too much.
Mr. Kern, why does the story end and then there was us? How does the final title refrain and give purpose to the pain chronicled in these first three?
You know, if I get really, really deep and tell you how these books connect to the to and then there was us, and to me those books feel like they're like this is one phase of my writing. Everything else from here on out is going to be so different. And I think, if I'm like psychoanalyzing myself, um it's like me being that person throughout all the books. Like I'm the one walking through all these books because I'm the one connecting them. And as I'm walking, I'm really asking this entire time, like, will you forgive me? Will you forgive me? Will you forgive me? Will you forgive me? Because I've
Hmm.
made so many mistakes in my life.
Yes.
Um, so I feel like I am I am in constant mode of trying to prove something so that I could be good enough. You know what I'm saying? To be like, oh, I'm gonna be the best. I'm the best writer. Like, do you love me more now? Oh, I'm gonna be the best father. Do you love me more now? I'm gonna do this for you. Do you love me more now? Like, and just like that's what I'm doing. Like, I want that. I want the validation. Like, I'm talking about from like a super like subconscious level. On a more intentional note, though, again, I feel like my characters in my novels are like late teenagers, early 20s. And I wrote about that stage because that's the stage of life that I most emotionally connect to. I had my daughter when I was still a teenager, and so I know what that emotional turmoil felt like, and I know what I went through, and I know all the struggles I went through, and I know all the beauty that came from that, and all the knowledge and wisdom that came from that. So I was able to put together these 4 stories that reflected that. Now I feel like the stories I'm writing now are like those stories. It's like I ended a series, even though there's not a series, right? Like I feel like I ended a chapter in my life, and now I'm moving on to something different. So it's going to be interesting these next 4 or 5 books.
Mr. Kern, if this collection is your life's thesis so far, what is the single most important message you are conveying about human resilience?
It's that it's not it's not fluid. Like human I feel like human resilience is, people misinterpret, I think, resilience and the goal of resilience, the necessity of resilience. I feel like resilience is like, it's like a failure of humanity, because why would you have to be so resilient in order to have a good life? And I think we put ourselves in a situation where it's like you have to be so resilient to have a good life. So I again, it's kind of connected to the wealth, but I mix these situations where these people have to endure um, these familial hardships. You know what I'm trying to say? And
Mhm.
the only way that they could get through it is for them to be resilient. But like, why? That's the question I would ask people. Like, why? Like,
Why?
why would you physically abuse your children? Why would you um like walk out on your 5-year-old daughter? Why would you like all why would you tell your child that they were born by a surrogate? Like, these are things that these families are doing to each other in my novels. And it's like, why? Like, these are the people who you love. So yeah, like, I think resilience is, it shouldn't even be as necessary as it is, but if you do possess it, then you're very fortunate, because it's not everyone is, trust me, a lot of people just go through life feeling like, I'm just going to go through life, like they don't want to have to fight for anything like that. And I feel like, you know uh, there needs to be a space for easy living as well.
Yes. On boys and girls screaming, Mr. Kern. The nature of the scream is the screaming in this work as sounds of terror, a rage, a protest, or a primal response to being unheard. What is the source?
That was the best description I've heard of what the scream is for. A primal response to not being heard. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that would almost perfectly explain what that scream is for, and mix that with fear. So like, imagine not being heard and at the same time you're just scared.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that scream is for, because like, not only are, when I say boys and girls, I'm talking about all of us. I'm talking about society. I'm talking about young people, maybe specifically. Um, I am specifically talking about young people. So when I say boys and girls screaming, young men and young women screaming, young adults screaming, like, they they are scared first because
Mm-hmm.
of the conditions that are around them, but then they're like, wait, right, I'm scared, and you're not hearing me, and you're not hearing me. Look at what's happening. Right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're not hearing me. You're not hearing me. So that fear mixed with that makes the scream feel violent, and um makes it feel urgent. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean. Like, that there's an urgency to their scream. There's an urgency to what they're to that. You use another word that makes sense to me, like that protest. Um so yeah, that was I yeah, that was a good question. I like that question.
By titling it Boys and Girls Screaming, are you universalizing a shared experience of a childhood pain or documenting a very specific event?
No, I think I'm more so um trying to reflect the energy of young people today. Like, and not children. I mean like old teenagers and early 20s. I mean, like young people like that, where like I'm documenting their story in a way, but not like the actual narrative of their story. I'm documenting the emotion of their story. Like, here's what we're feeling, and
Mhm.
the novel is an expression of their emotions. you know. So and the title is in that as well. Actually, I came up with the title before I wrote the book. I had the title first, and
Nice.
I wrote the novel to the title. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like the novel, the title of the novel is what inspired me to write this book. So Boys and Girls Screaming to me was always a very focused project and a focused mission that I was on. And to it's I tell people all the time, it's kind of oddly it's my favorite book for that reason, because it came from pure imagination and pure emotion. And like I was I had no point of reference for this story. I was literally just thinking about the emotion of boys and girls screaming, and how can I tell that story in a way that's still accessible to people, so you could read it and still feel some form of entertainment and understanding, but at the same time like have these deep layers and these deep roots, to where if you explore it, you realize that this is far more than the surface story that the narrative tells.
Interesting, Mr. Kern. On beauty scars. This is a powerful paradox. How do you define a beauty scar? Is it about finding strength in pain, or has the pain itself been transformed in something beautiful?
No,
Hmm.
so that's a good one. So beauty scars is in reference to a few things. First of all, the very simply, it's like the it's a magical realism book, right? So you have to
Mhm,
suspend a little bit of reality. And the main character at the very beginning of this book, this is not a spoiler, it happens in the first paragraph. The main character gets hit by a car, and instead of being scarred for life, like instead of her like really being physically scarred, she becomes more beautiful, whatever that means, right? So the accident makes her more beautiful. So the the paradox for me is physical beauty, right? Like the responsibility and the scar of being like physically beautiful, and like how she has to, how that changes her life, and how she has to carry herself now that she's seen as beautiful. So that's one. But then underneath all that is really beauty scars is meant to talk about Toronto as a city. Like Toronto as a city is beautiful, and it's generally safe, and the people are friendly, and you have these beautiful, like you have these very active friendships in Toronto, like you do stuff with your friends out here. A beautiful city. But then there's an undercurrent of just like um chaos and darkness that also kind of just like, it's just like right underneath all the beauty. So me, when I told you I read from like emotional experience or observation or my environment, I was like living in downtown Toronto when I wrote this story, and that triggered all of these just all of these scenes, let's just say, you know. And then all these scenes just cataloged in my mind, and I was able to tell this story that feels wild and um just like very energetic, and also at the same time very conflicting, which is what I wanted it to feel like this magical story, but at the same time feel like this very tragic story. And and yeah, it's a fun book. It's my daughter's favorite one of my books.
on thoughts of a fractured soul. What does the fracture of the soul look and feel like in this work? Is it a clean break, shattering, or a show cracking under pressure?
Slow cracking under pressure for sure. That is a whole, there's no break. It's just like crack, crack, like
Hmm.
little slice, little slice, little slice, like it's not even, it's not broken. So the fracture is in, you have to endure it. You know, like you have to go through it and manage it. So that, yeah, definitely the slow grind. But it's again, that book is about stagnation. That book is about feeling stuck. That book is
Hmm.
about feeling like you can't get out of your situation, and you're, even though you feel like you're doing the right things, but and the thing that's holding you back is the thing that you love the most, which or the thing that you feel like is holding you back, I should say clearly, is the thing that you love the most, your child. You know, so how do you deal with that? How do you mesh your ambition with your actual love for your daughter? That's what that story is about. That's where the fracture comes in, you know. And then
Hmm.
everything around that person is just like forcing them to crumble a little bit more.
And then there was us as the culmination. Defining us after such a solitary and painful journey, who or what is the us? Is the reconciled self, a found family, or romantic love, or a connection to something greater?
I mean, I would say it is first the connection to family, the family that it has a little bit of an improbable connection because you didn't think that they would be able to make it where they did, and for the main character Koi to say, and that there was us. Well, for where she starts off and where she ends up are two different places. So the us is representative of that journey and representative of her growth and maturity as a character in the novel.
Mr. Kern, which of these four books demanded the most from you emotionally to write? And what did conquering the challenges teach you about yourself?
I would say, and then there was us was, and then but it was between, and then there was us and thoughts of a fractured soul. I'll start with thoughts of a fractured soul first because it was just my first book. I didn't know what I was doing. It took me 6 years to write that book, and it's only 72 pages. I was just really figuring myself out as an author, figuring myself out as a writer, trying to find my style, like I wanted my book to feel so special, you know. So I was really, really pushing myself, and I never felt comfortable with it. So it took a long time for that book to happen because I felt like I needed to get better. So emotionally, it just because of the time, just like 6 years is a long time to be writing a book. It sucked a lot out of me. Now with well, actually, I'm gonna change my mind. The second book that took the most out of me was actually Boys and Girls Screaming.
Mm-hmm.
Boys and Girls Screaming was that book, boy, because again, I had the idea, I had the title first, then I had a spark of an idea from a story my friend told me. I was putting those two things together, but I was struggling through it. I couldn't find the right perspective to go in. I couldn't find the right voice for the story. Like whose voice should the story be in? Like I was going back and forth, and um it took over a year for me to find the right voice. And once I found the right voice though, once I found the right characters, it was then the writing became a lot easier because I saw the story, you know, and I saw this friendship that these main characters had, Candace and Ever. Um, I saw it so clearly. So after that kind of year of really struggling and probably maybe even a little bit longer, I was finally able to figure that book out. But that book took a lot out of me. I think that's why I love it so much too. You know, it's like I could have quit on that book. I could have put it to the side and moved on to something else. But I saw something in it and I felt it. And to me, that book is just like that is just pure imagination. And just like fun and you know, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Again, it took a lot out of me, but on reflection, I'm happy that I stuck with it because it was a rough one.
Mm-hmm. So, Mr. Kern, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, mob book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in third season, and mob food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101, love letters, movie 101 review, music 101, our fourth season, science 101, sex 101 in its second season, and my baby podcast Law 101, Mental Health 101, and Bible Verses 101. And coming this December, Entrepreneur 101. Tune in for that. I had a lot of, yes, I have a great list of guests. Especially entrepreneur people all over the world. So please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Kern, tell us if someone or if this body of work could be a guide for someone still in their screaming phase. What is the one truth you hope they discover with your pages?
Wow. Um, I I hope they discover that life is worth living. I really hope that, like, I know my books could be heavy. I know my books could feel very emotional, but ultimately I feel like my all my books have a touch of hope, you know? So I want people to know, like, if you're reading all my novels, know that, like, life is definitely worth living. It's beautiful, and there's nothing more beautiful than to live life on this earth. So treat it like that. Treat it like that. It's so precious. So yeah, I would hope so.
It's precious indeed. Fractured or thoughts of a fractured soul. Beauty scars, boys, girls screaming. And then there was us. And then the new one. Is there a boy like me? Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Kern. And can you please invite the listeners to support your books itself?
Yes, go to KernCarter.com. All my books are going to be there. You see that on the screen. Um, and if you have any questions, I am open. Send me an email. If you love my book, send me a message. I love to talk to readers. So KernCarter.com.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Kern Carter because if you support him for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Mr. Kern, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. I had a great time. Thank you for having me.
Likewise, more to come, people. See you soon.